Hey everyone, welcome to the 2014 North American Challenger Series, brought to you thanks in part to our friends at Coca-Cola. David Victorli alongside me, as always, is Aiden and Zyrene Moon. So I ask you every week, but I'm going to ask you again, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, Freak. I'm going to give you the same answer I give you every week with that little bit of disdain in my voice. It's going pretty well, Freak. It's going
even better because I care so much about how you're doing every day. Today's quarterfinal matchup is coming up now. It's a best of 3 between 4th seed Team 8 and 5th seed Zenith Esports.
Yeah, both these teams survived the 2 single-game elimination rounds to get here today, but Team 8 has had the edge based on their players. From top to bottom, the entire roster is stacked with exceptional players, and of those, jungler Porpoise Pops and AD Carry from Maple Street are sporting double-digit KDAs in their Summer 2 matchups so far.
So a very strong team, and of course Team 8 has a lot of talent, but they're also a little unlucky when you look at the recent history. They took part in the Spring Challenger Series, but unfortunately they matched up against LMQ in the quarterfinals. Then in Summer 1, they were upset in the round of 20 by Necrophantasian. However, now that they've made it past these games in Summer 2, they should do a much better job here in the quarterfinals.
They're definitely not Team 8 ball, because you never know how their games are going to work out, ever. You sit there and you're just like, try again later. And that's exactly what they've done 3 times now. But looking at the other side of this matchup, we have Zenith Esports, who are the underdogs in this one by a huge margin. But perhaps they like it that way. In the round of 20, they upset the number 2 seed when they faced Gamester Gear and came away with an impressive victory.
Yeah, no slouches on this roster. However, they advanced to the round through the round of 10 due to a forfeit, so they're a little bit untested here compared to the rest of the teams in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and up to this point, Zenith Esports tended to run their compositions around AD carry Genshu, who had a good game against Gamester Gear, but today he's not playing. Instead, we'll see GG Jessica Jung stepping in for him. The bot lane matchup is definitely something we have to watch today, Freak.
Yeah, they've had that together for less than 2 weeks now. Going to see how that kind of pans out for the teams. But here's how the bracket shapes up as the action gets ready for today. Team Coast swept Denial Esports 2-0 yesterday and will play in the semifinals against the winner of today's matchup, which is Team 8 versus Zenith Esports.
Then, next week, the quarterfinals wrap up when Curse Academy takes on Wasabi Gaming on July 19th and Team LawPro battles Cognitive Gaming on July 20th. The bracket we showed yesterday incorrectly listed next week's matchups, so we apologize for any confusion that may have caused, but all the players already knew.
Yeah, they were getting that one. So you guys, we lied to you, but it's okay. We love you. We fixed it this time around. Now, of course, in the Challenger Series, victories are rewarded with points. At the end of Summer 2, the teams with these 6 highest scores will qualify for the playoffs. Leading into the quarterfinals, Team Coast and Team LawPro had already clinched a spot, but after the loss by Denial Esports yesterday, Curse Academy and Wasabi Gaming have also both automatically qualified.
And at the moment, Cognitive Gaming, Team 8, and Zenith Esports still control their own destiny and can make it to the playoffs as long as they continue to win their matchups. Meanwhile, Denial Esports could still get some extra help getting up there. And also, if those teams that we just listed lose, there's still a chance.
Right, there's the tie for 6 they could maybe go for and get themselves back in. Just depends on how this all shapes up. Now, if you're in need of some help keeping track of all those Challenger playoff scenarios, all you got to do is hit up a web browser and tune into lolesports.com.
Under the Leagues and Tournaments tab, you'll find scores, VODs of previous matches, team profiles, and everything else you need to follow the Challenger Series and the LCS all season long.
All right, so guys, it's time for today's best of 3 matchup. About ready to go. Team 8 going up against Zenith Esports. Team 8 is a name we've probably talked about before in the Challenger broadcast. They're coming in as favorites.
Yeah, they're coming in as favorites, but they've had consistency problems in the past. But with the addition of Porpoise Pops, they've been looking pretty good. Right now, he has a 21.5 KDA in Summer 2, 13, 2, and 20 over 2 games.
Yeah, and he's the newest face on that team, and he's always been a guy who was like on teams but very sort of unsung.
Did like VVV, he's done a whole bunch of other teams.
Right, he's been on a lot of teams that unfortunately never went very far, but this is probably his best shot at making it to the big leagues there, and these guys do look very good. On the other side, though, Zenith Esports have their own new face. We talked about him a second ago, but GG Jessica Jung is going to fill in as AD carry now for Genshu, a much higher rated player in solo queue. Genshu is actually sub 10 LP in Diamond 1, which is a pretty low mark generally for players in the Challenger Series. You see guys top of Challenger, you see guys 50 LP plus, so they've added a roughly 60 LP AD carry here, and I think it's an upgrade personally.
When you know when an AD carry has less ranking than you, should just put Freak on your team, guys.
I would lose a teammate. I'm just saying.
That is true. That is true. You'd lose to a lot of things.
I would. Yes.
A lot of teams.
I would lose to most teams.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. I mean, I got nothing else to say.
I've played with you before. I know what you're like.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But speaking of AD carries, we had to talk about Maple Street at the same time that we're going to talk about GG Jessica Jung. Maple Street, that double-digit KDA, 12.67 currently coming into this, and he becomes really the duelist of the bot lane, usually.
Yeah, they just roam around and say, you know what, go ahead and take the 1v1s. I know last split we were talking about Altec being the best top laner of the AD carries, because you just go by himself and be a Corki and get a bunch of farm. That's now Maple Street. Maple Street's now the best top laner among the AD carries in the challenger scene. And yeah, we'll see if the rest of the team can match up. I know he tunnels on champions like Lucian and Caitlyn a lot. These safe, like good auto farmers, good wave clear, so he can kind of be left on his own. And that kind of becomes an interesting sort of game plan is, even though you normally don't tunnel on AD carry bans very much, there's two things that are interesting here. One is that Maple's champion was a little bit interesting in that he's not playing the hyper carries. And two, it's actually a play style thing. If he gets those champs, it allows teammate to play a certain way.
Yeah, he usually goes for lane bullies and tries to dominate. Very similar style to Vasily, but sometimes he'll take the Tristana and Cog. But that's just coming into his champion pool because he loves Lucian.
Yeah.
It's his most played. Every time we see him, he'll usually go for that or Caitlyn very quickly. But since we're talking about AD carries, Zenith Esports, we talked about how they kept making their comp around Genshu. Easy would take a Nivea. Their top laner, Acadian, would go ahead and take Trundle. And they would make a wall composition around a Kog'Maw. Right now, coming into this, when you ban against Team 8, it's usually against their top laner.
Yeah.
But right now, there's going to be some mismatch here in terms of power and where you're directing your bans.
Hey, I got to see what these guys go for. You talk about directing bans. I got to point out Acadian before too many bans come through. He is a top lane Tryndamere main, and he does pull bans for this champion. At least he did in the round of 20 and round of 10. So I do want to see if Kylie Trolls even respects that in the first place, or says, sure, I'll play Trynd, no big deal. The Yasuo ban, I actually like. Teammates been running a lot of Yasuo Gragas in their other challenger efforts and things outside of the Riot tournaments, so removing some of those might be smart.
And they go ahead and they don't want to play Caston. They go ahead and ban that away.
Yep.
It means they aren't going to first pick their mid laner here unless Twisted Fate is left up for them. But here's the thing with Team 8. They will either first pick their top laner or they will wait until last to pick it. They never pick it in the middle. They'll pick it first if they're looking for a composition around it and it was left open, or they will pick it last if he's looking for a counter pick here, because California Trolls champion pool is very unorthodox, but it's actually becoming very hipster. Now he's like, oh, I really like Renekton now. I like Shyvana now, after people stopped playing them and started playing other things.
Right. Well, speaking of playing other things, the champion pool is changing around. Maple Street's Lucian does go away. I do actually like a lot that the AD carries are branching out finally. Instead of being like, we're always going to play Twitch and then Lucian and then whatever. It's like, well, some guys force Trist bans, some guys force Lucian bans, some guys force Kog'Maw bans. And we finally have them spreading out a little bit, which I'm glad we finally had that happen.
Unless you're in Korea, and then everybody forces a Kog'Maw ban.
And everyone forces a Kog'Maw ban. But that's understandable. Lee Sin does go away from Wild Mimo here. Does leave Elise as a potential first pick jungler then, with Eve also away from the pool.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised here that Team 8 is banning out a lot of junglers coming into this, because they've been first picking their jungler a lot when they aren't picking their top laner first.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of Evelyns be locked in first for them. I've seen a lot of Lee Sins recently.
Yeah.
When I was watching them and other stuff. But right now, just banning them away instead, making sure nobody gets a piece of that. And it might be the first pick Elise here.
That would be my guess, but teammate knows better than me. Interesting. I don't know if that's actually a okay, yeah. I don't think you have to pick Caitlyn this early on. That said, yes, it's a shared champion. GGJJ's, which is he's shorthanding GG Jessica Jung. His top two are Lucian Kate, just like Maple Street here. So I can actually see in this metagame in the real sense of the word metagame, where these two teams you compare how they actually function. Caitlyn becomes the first pickable champion, but only if these two teams are playing. So there's a lot of options here. There's a lot of really scary things you have to consider. Who gets Kate? Who gets the top lane pick? Okay, it is going to be the Gragas. Yeah, who gets the Elise? I wouldn't be surprised to see Elise Kate.
Yeah, that looks like what they would be picking up here next to try and take those two away, because they put so much priority on that top lane Gragas right now. I was talking with California Trolls. He thinks it is the top lane best champion right now, and Lulu is right in tow. But since it was banned out, you have to fall back on something else like Renekton or Shyvana, possibly a Mundo, to try and deal with it. But he actually fares very well in those matchups. It's hard to bully him out, and he does a lot of damage early on.
Okay, well, right now, Cali Trolls is going to be set up to be that Gragas. I don't think he's really in the rest of the champion pools, but we've seen Gragas go mid lane in Europe. We've seen him go jungle over here in North America. We've actually seen him play support in Europe as well. So there's always the tiny chance that it's the flexible lane, but it's very likely he's top lane here. Zenith taking their time with their first set of picks, hovering Caitlyn the entire time. But you got to figure out if they actually want this one here. This is a very slow champ select. These guys are making sure they get exactly what they want. And a minute later, it is Kate Elise.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Granted, they won't have a hyper carry here, so I want to see if Easy still picks up a Nivea, and if Acadian still picks up Trundle and they go for a wall composition. Don't know if they'll go for it because Caitlyn's damage isn't comparable in the same vein as Tristana or hyper carry like Kog'Maw.
Right. I don't think you have to play a big peel comp. Caitlyn's safe enough as it stands. That said, Nivea has really good damage. Nivea's a fine champ to run. You've got teams like Alliance are happy to run her with kind of any composition, and it's wonderfully powerful. And if you're frogging, it's good. I do have to point out as well, we talked about it a second ago, but Acadian's Tryndamere is available. I feel like Trynd works okay against Gragas, but maybe the displacement's too much for the melee carry. Maybe he grabs Corki here for himself.
He grabs Corki because that's the next thing that he's able to fall back on. And we heard Vasily talking about how he was playing pretty toe-to-toe in that Corki Lucian matchup, but the TPs were a big thing for him.
Yeah.
I think Team 8 might go Nocturne Twisted Fate here at the very end.
Ooh, that's all kinds of interesting. There's definitely a real chance they can do that and play like a whole bunch of pressure. The only thing that gives me pause there is just that the Zenith lineup is pretty safe so far.
Yeah.
Morgana is the typical counterpick to Braum. Caitlyn is super safe on her own. Elise can dodge gold cards all day as well. So there are some things that would fight that as well. The other thought I have for the Zenith comp is, again, because Tryndamere's up, you can pick a team that's very, very wave cleary. Grab a champion like Ziggs here for the mid lane, something that can just get rid of minions and allow the freedom for Tryndamere to 1v5 the rest of the game. And I want to know what exactly Zenith keys into.
And they could take away the Twisted Fate, but no, it's going to be the Morgana Ziggs here for the wave clear.
All right.
And trying to prevent that, exactly what you said coming into it.
So, I mean, they're well
safe.
set up to be defensive.
They're very safe. They're very defensive here. They're looking for the wave clear and stopping Team 8 from pushing in, who are known as a very early game team. When they beat LMQ, it was very, very early on.
Yeah, true. Look at that. There you go. Got our picks in here.
That's awesome.
So we got this going through. I'm just happy.
Nailed it.
This makes you feel so good when you crystal ball that stuff. Yeah, Nocturne TF. Okay, so Team 8, throughout the Challenger Series, whether they've been playing tournaments outside of the Riot events the last couple of weeks or even stuff within the round of 10, round of 20, they've been playing these aggressive early game teams, things with a boatload of pressure saying we're going to outsmart you, we're going to outwit you, and we're going to keep the pressure on and crush you guys with kills. Team 8 has that type of comp here where they can keep the pressure going in. Zenith have a very different sort of priority here where it's like if they can weather that storm, I feel like they actually outscale here. I do expect the trend to come through. It will be hard from the team fight with this, but I do want to see how this matchup goes. And they're just going to hover on Skarner, but I feel like Trend makes the most sense here.
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit more about this entire matchup that's locked in here for Team 8.
Yeah.
They have so much map mobility and map control right now, and also when you use the Nocturne ultimate, it's very hard to see where the Twisted Fate is coming in on. You can come into a bush and you'll be like, oh wow, now he's in this bush. Just randomly the Twisted Fate appears behind you or in a spot that you have no vision of anymore. So this is a great composition that they've brought here together. Porpoise Pops was always known for his Nocturne play in the jungle, and he falls back on it regularly, even though it's not a typical meta champion right now, because he just has that type of presence of mind about the map.
Now it's going to be the interesting case then for Team 8 if they can go on in. Zenith actually doesn't go for the trend. I'm sad. I wish it was, but he's fun to watch. It is Trundle, though, so he's actually picked that every single game they've played so far. The interesting thing is, yeah, it's not a type of team where you're like peeling for Cog forever and ever. It's not, you know, the comp they were running with Genshu before. So I do want to see what Trundle does here because we have not seen Trundle basically at all since Gragas came back into the picture here. I know Gragas tends to build tanky. Well, some of them do, right? So like maybe you get a bunch of stats you can steal. I know Nocturne won't. I know Dota won't ever actually have the real stats to steal from in the first place. So I want to see what the Trundle actually accomplishes here because it doesn't immediately make sense to me.
Yeah, it's also a very different composition here in playstyle from Zenith Esports because now they have Jessica Jung, or GG, JJ. We ended up saying that Genshu was their linchpin previously. Now, completely different champions in the mid lane, in the AD carry position. Top lane's the same.
Yeah.
Trundle versus Gragas matchup. You steal AD from him, and resistances. it's not really a big deal.
Yeah, the Wizards are low for a while.
This is going to be something we're going to have to keep a big eye on because California Trolls likes to run away with the game, and he's going to have a lot of assistance from his jungler and mid laner.
It is a very sustaining lane for what it's worth. I'm just kind of still going through
Both,
the mind process in this one. Yeah, so we'll have to see what it ends up being. I do think that a little bit more AP-based Gragas's have tended to be a bit stronger. The full tanks just, I mean, maybe they can get the displacement going. Maybe that'll work out. I am a little bit worried about the total damage output of Zenith. I think they have some. Honestly, Ziggs, of course, a very high damage champion. The fact that I feel like Zenith's bottom lane is set up for success, Kate Morgana just together is strong against Braum Corki. Okay, Braum can block some Caitlyn Qs, Braum can block a little bit of damage coming out there, but in general, you've got so much poke ability and so few ways to get in from Braum Corki. The only really saving grace here is that Maple Street could break Black Shields to let Braum get in. That's actually a fun little synergy there where he's like, hey, I expect this counter pick here, I expect this to happen through, so I'll break Black Shields for you. Oh, cool, new kind of games coming in there. Same with Kog'Maw if you wanted to run him, for example. Some of the magic damage AD carries have new synergies there to think about when you get these matchups, and that's a little fun mind game to play and as you go into the game. But again, I think it just comes down to the fact that like Team 8 realistically are a very mid-game power spike focused team. 20 minutes is where all their playmaking happens, and if this all fails because of the high amount of disengage, and I guess maybe that's the reason for Trundle is just pillar and walk away, they've got to be really scared about Ziggs Kate.
There's a lot of engagement here, though.
Yeah,
from Team 8.
Of course.
You have Gragas Barrel, you have Braum, you have both of those ultimates that are half global, I guess, half a map. Big thing here, though, is the map pressure. Because Dodo's going to roam. Last time we saw him on Braum, he roamed around mid every time he got the opportunity to, and he just left Maple Street alone. Even when it was 2v1 and Maple Street ended up dying, Dodo's like, I'm going to go make something happen mid.
Yeah.
They pick very self-sufficient 80 carries for Maple Street so that he can do that. Dodo, I want to see if he sticks to that game plan, because that's why they pick Braum for the slow on the Winter's Bite and then the stun follow-up.
And honestly, I think it makes a ton of sense to do it that way. I mean, you think about the synergies he has. Stand Behind Me can be one of the best aggressive skills in the game. One of my favorite lanes is actually Braum Trist, because you can both jump in and you get like the double slow and the guy's like screwed.
This is why no challenger team would want to have Freak on it.
I like rocket jump in every time, and I'm not as good as Vasily, so it's going to fail. But yes, you're right. Don't hire me. I'm a bad player. But the fact that you can jump in on TF, and one of the risks of TF, right? And it's the reason you have to like buy Zhonya second anytime you're on a team fight is I'm going to jump in and then be in the middle of your team. If you jump in and Braum gets to show up and shield for you, TF gets to put some damage output down. If Nocturne dives in and Braum gets to stand behind me on top of that, suddenly Braum's in range to contribute a lot of threat, and they're as you talk about Dodo 8 leaving the bot lane, going to roam towards mid, which I think is probably the ideal target there, leaving Maple Street alone on Corki, who is safe here, they get a lot of playmaking potential. There's a lot of ways to get in. You mentioned Gragas ultis, everything else like that. I agree. There's a ton of engage. The question just simply has to get back to, will it actually land? That's just ultimately the question. The last game we cast of Team 8 was them facing off against Elements' team, Area of Effect in the round of 10. That was like a 70-kill game. Like, they fought constantly. And honestly, AoE held some decent fights in there. And it's like, you assume your competition gets better as time goes on, right? You go further down the tournament. Maybe the disengage just does work. It's a bunch of long-range champs with escapes.
Yeah, and Team 8 has lost to teams that have been lower seeded before. For previous tournaments, they went against Necrophantasia round of 20.
Drop the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They dropped to something. They dropped to it because they weren't familiar with the strategy. Now, if they're facing a different strategy here that they just can't really get their heads around, it's like so much disengage, but we can't engage on them, it may fall flat for them. We'll have to see what ends up happening here. But they did face each other on the ranked 5s ladder about 3 weeks ago. You know, it was a little bit of a different patch, but Team 8 won in 20 minutes and 39 seconds.
Yeah.
It was a very quick game from them.
Yes.
But Zenith have since then gotten GGJJ.
Yeah, better players.
See if that
more synergy
ends up working for them in the bottom lane.
Let's see what happens. Right now, Hakuho and Dodo chilling next to each other. Interesting to note, Dodo, I feel like he went deep defense. So, I mean, he didn't go deep utility because they're missing out on... They're at 2.3 instead of 2.4k gold. So, he didn't go utility. So, Dodo's going to be poor this game. But also the fact that he doesn't even have biscuits is surprising to me, because then I feel like he hasn't even gone 9 utility either, because there's no other point you'd want at 9 points. So it might be like a gigantic, like 27 points defense tree Braum, who just wants to be this meat wall, and hopefully he can scale up with items. See if it pays out, but unusual.
Zenith are being very defensive right now. They ended up sweeping a ward that was on the left side of their red, and then they ended up putting down their 3-minute ward that was in Wild Mimo's inventory. So that's why he has that 1 CS and that increased vision on that side of the map. But now, Dodo, Callie, and Maple all on the top side of the map, giving away information.
Well, look at this. Team 8 looks like they're going to be looking to initiate a lane swap, but also get a 3-buff start. That defensive setup by Zenith does not punish Porpoise Pops for starting at a zone red, and is not going to stop this invade on the north side as well. Great level 1 by Team 8.
And they had all the information there from Zenith. They knew what was happening, they knew what was going on. And this red buff, are they going to give it to Maple or are they going to give it to Callie?
Well, in a 2-on-1 situation, I feel like you don't need it on the AD carry. He's got nothing to fight for. Calitrols has the chance of jungling a bit faster, maybe, or finding these plays to make. This is a very smart play by Zenith. I mean, the thing is, you normally go for this buff anyway. Porpoise shouldn't have even gone for the race. The expectation is that Zenith comes down for him.
Yeah. They're going to be very disappointed here for Wild Mimo, because he won't get a red buff at all at this start. And meanwhile, California Trolls, he's doing the jungle.
Very slowly, though. He's taking a bit of damage there. He's got a barrel again. He'll heal up. So the red buff does now allow him to jungle a little bit faster. Just that damage does add up over time.
So I was talking with California Trolls, and his criteria for a good top laner, and this is one of the reasons that he's actually becoming more and more involved in the meta top laners, is because in 2-on-1s, which are apparently still existed because teammates forcing one right now, he needs somebody that jungles. That's why Vladimir, even though it's in the top of his champion pool, and so is Fizz, he won't play them because they can't jungle solo at the start of the game.
When you see just what happens, he's level 2.5 basically. Porpoise Pops chilling out with the rest of the team. Dodo 8 has already made his way towards the mid lane as the AD carry Maple Street is just chilling out there. And Calitrols is going to try to hold this 1v2. Now remember, in 4.11, there are 2 big changes to point out for this patch, because one is the range on experience on lane minions is higher.
TP going top, Dodo roaming mid at the same time as the other support. So Hakuho is here as well.
And they're just going to devolve this right away into 1v1s there with the top laners trying to catch whatever farm they can under turret against the AD carries. Potential 3-man mid, but it's actually going to be these guys going back and forth looking for 2v1s. Uh-oh, this is actually not
going in on it. He has the red buff.
This is actually pretty scary
Porpoise is
right
on
now.
the other side of this, too.
Yeah, this is not good for Caitlyn.
Flash still on Callie.
That Q actually came out late. She stopped herself. Nice flash body slam. She's dead. Nicely done. First blood coming in just after 4 minutes, and Calitrols, the red buff Gragas, actually pays off.
And that's really big for Team 8 as well. Calitrols is the shot caller. When you're shot calling from ahead, so much easier to do, and they start getting themselves some of this dragon control. They recognize the support Hakuho roamed mid to match Dodo's, immediately take advantage of that.
And that's one of the reasons I like CC top laners in 2v1s as well, because they actually provide threat if you leave your support out of the lane. Complete lack of wards, easy to get the Nocturne in. Really perfectly played by teammate.
Yeah, it was one of the things. It was, can you jungle? Do you have gank assistance? Do you have some type of sustain? And do you not run yourself out of mana? That's like another one. If you're resourceless, then you're fine.
Hey, worked out. That was the kind of gank that Shyvana would not have helped Rekton possibly either. So hey, very well done there. Calitrols making things happen. Mimo looking for a little bit of pressure in his mid lane, but right now not going to just find that. Easy keeps some wards down to keep this lane safe. And no surprise that Ziggs is up in CS here, but the problem is the rest of his team not doing so hot.
Yeah, now it's going to be the 2-on-2s. Nice.
Yep.
Style points.
Hey, lost some health, but hey, at least he looked cool.
Hey, got out of the Tormented Soil. So didn't take that extra damage.
Not so much torment for him.
Yeah. Gragas actually heading up top right now. Maple Street backed, and he's going to go ahead and go bottom, and they're swapping it back.
It's interesting. So they really, really, really want the 2-on-1s. Kaylin Morgana, it makes a lot of sense. It's one of the best lanes you can have against Braum Corki. So you hide from the matchup, let Maple Street farm somewhere else, have Braum's Qs be able to do something useful.
Well, another thing is at the same time, if you're a very practiced team, again, and you're scrimming high-level opponents, like Team 8 scrims a lot of really good teams, and you will 2v1 lane swap just to practice it. If you're Zenith Esports and you're not getting the same type of practices in, it's hard for you to learn.
Absolutely.
And then you're kind of learning on the fly while you're doing it in a very high-stress situation, so the calls get very panicked.
And you got to hope that your shot caller still knows how these all play out. And right now, you're seeing a 900 gold lead for Team 8 just based on this early laning phase. The first blood is 600 of that, but another 300 just comes from the fact that they're winning just their farm game here.
Yeah, Calitrols 15 CS up, a kill up right now, and he's able to do a ton of damage to the support. They actually wrestled themselves dragon control by doing this move. And Porpoise Pops is in a great situation to gank wherever he wants. Also at the same time, Slushy just hitting 6, having the flash and the ghost. If he wants to gank Acadian, he can try and go for it. If he wants to gank top, he can go for that. There's a lot of options here for Team 8 with this open map and the fact that lane swap's in their favor.
Well, right now, top lane not available till they get their jungler around Nocturne. Porpoise Pops is making his way towards level 6. This is now the available dive. They would have a 3-on-1 if they went for this one. Right now, he's still holding on to the lane. Turret is taking not a ton of damage. Maple's more interested in harassing Acadian than killing this turret here. Teammate happy to play a little bit slower of a game and just extend this laning phase to build bigger advantages.
Another thing that's jumping out at me right now is Porpoise Pops has Quill Coat. He's not going for the Lizard Elder at all in the jungle on a Nocturne. Instead, he's going to go for the extra vision early and see what he can do to contribute to his team in that regard.
Interesting. So Nocturne's going to be a tank here for the lineup. I want to know how much of it is frontline, how much of it is going to be damage dealers here. Calitrolls is going to open up with Rod of Ages, it looks like. Blue buff does get stolen away very nicely by Team 8, but they've got their Druid lane down there. That's pretty standard. Now they pick up towards Dragon.
Calitrolls has his teleport, so even if they get the Dragon, he can TP up to that top lane and not really lose any CS. They're keeping GGJJ up in that top lane. No teleport on that Caitlyn. No way to get there.
I've seen Altec run that once, and it didn't actually work out for the guys. That was back in the Challenger Series last split, but here we go. Team 8 happy to crush this Dragon down rather quickly. More gold coming in. Now a 2,000 gold lead by 8 minutes. Very nicely played by Team 8.
I'm thinking about it more and more, and Porpoise Pops, he's just trying to get very tanky because it might mean that Calitrolls is going to go Rod of Ages and then just go more damage.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was trying to think about, of kind of piercing the champions together, because, and that's cool to look for. I do like AP Gragas. It's a bit weaker than it was back in the day, but that's fine. He was kind of overpowered, so I'm okay with that being less optimal. I do want to see how he transitions out of the laning phase, though. He's not really getting into these brawls. He'll just be, surprise, I'm in team fight, knock people around.
They're trying to keep this river warded as much as possible so that Slushy doesn't roam. Because right now, it looks like he wants to roam and get this blue and then possibly make a gank afterwards. Haven't seen his first Destiny yet.
It's true. I know whenever I play TF, I always like hope that I can get my first blue before I ult the first time. The 10% CDR is actually a pretty significant chunk off that cooldown. You always like feel bad when you like ult out and you're like, well, now I have blue, and won't even be up for my next ult either.
Just watching the map movements of both teams, having the river completely covered, and look at that. As soon as that ward gets cleared out, Calitrolls is there to answer and clear it up. And now Hakuho will probably, put another one in there.
Great.
They're trying to keep these warded so that TF can't roam. And then when he does, they'll see it coming.
Yeah, you can see very good warding has come out for Zenith to prevent that. Slushy being held down pretty well. His CS, though, still holding close to equal, so Easy's not exactly making progress in this lane.
Even this ward right here on Slushy is really huge, the one that's in the lane, because that will show whether he goes left or right, right in front of his turret. Like right now, they wouldn't be able to see him because they have no minions, but because of that ward, it allows them to get tabs on TF.
And so because of that, Acadian is actually safe to stand under his turret down at the tier 1 of the bottom lane. So all kinds of good things for Zenith. The problem is they just haven't been able to make any aggressive moves themselves, while Team 8 has taken both blue buffs this time around, the 7-minute blue buffs. They had a 3-buff start at level 1 as well. So, and of course the Dragon's down on top of that one. So every single place I look, Team 8 are outplaying this.
Yeah, Acadian down in CS, down in levels right now over California Trolls, who's doing really well and actually thriving. He's a top laner who got lane swapped on, 84 CS at 10 minutes, 20 seconds.
It's pretty good.
That's ridiculous. Usually you'll see somebody around where Acadian is.
Yeah, he's got Slushy's minion score, and he's never been put in a 2v1.
Yes.
That's some impressive stuff. Well played by this man right here. Gragas now going into the enemy jungle just a little bit. Didn't get too much ward coverage for anything, but certainly walked by a bunch of the enemies.
So they just got the bottom turret. Now what's most likely going to happen is they will group mid, try to take that turret. California Trolls will split push top or join depending on the situation and his teleport status. They'll take mid, then try to go for Dragon. This is like the next 5 minutes or 3 minutes set up for Team 8.
We'll see if they can make that one happen then.
They might group 4 mid and just put Maple bottom like they usually do.
Oh, right, yeah. the original split pusher of Team 8. They're AD carry. Why the heck not? Right now, actually looks like Recall is going to come in first. It's been a while since Maple's shopped, So he's got most of Triforce to put into his inventory right here. I think Fade Sheen would come through.
Slushie looking top. Acadian hasn't. He just ultied now.
Ooh, flash away, flash gold card. Good damage comes through. Now Acadian trying to run away. One more attack. Here comes the 6 bomb plus the damage from Elise. Mimo actually solos him out. Nicely counterattacked here by Zenith. But there comes Nocturne. Gets to Easy. Easy just hops the wall safely.
Good gank there from Wild Mimo, helping Acadian out. Acadian trying to back into the turret, and he does. Has his teleport available, so he could get back to this, but it's a tower that might go down before it actually completes.
Looks like Slushie will be able to get this one pretty safely. And I actually question, man, what's Trundle going to do? Turns out Trundle's going to 1v1 this Gragas. Acadian won that fight straight up. It's like, man, he's down 40 minions. Man, he got so ripped apart at level 1. PS, he just won the 1v1.
Yeah. Incredible dueling potential in Trundle with his ultimate and just all of his abilities synergizing together with the heal. Doesn't even have Blade of the Ruined King completed.
He's that with Cutlass.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very scary.
All right, well, Calitrolls, he now has that death there. 92 minions on him. He's still farming best he can, but I do want to see how this pans out. Zenith Esports now, they are clearing away the wards. They want control over Dragon. It's in a minute 30. They have the rough timer on that.
They have a lot of wards around this area too, but they're getting swept out now by Teammate. They have a lot of wards that are defensive in their own jungle too.
And there's the aggro onto the blue buff. Dodaway is around with the team. It's going to be the recall. No, sorry, the teleport in from Trundle. He's joined this fight. Akoho wants in on Porpoise Pops. That is a stun and a pillar now onto the Nocturne. He's forced to flash away, but he goes down. There's a Nocturne coming for Acadian. Maple Street joins the battle as well. This fight is a 5-on-4, but Zenith are pushed away. The jump on in. Trundle falls. So does Elise. And Team 8 find the battle back anyway.
Just the AoE abilities and ultimates available there. Hakuho using his own on only one person and not even getting that person down. Porpoise Pops ends up having to flash and gets dropped, but now they are able to get themselves the blue and some more control, and it looks like the mid lane is what's in their sights.
And with a 4,000 gold lead as well, the team not completely ready to defend this. Easy is there, and he is Ziggs. He's got some wave clear. I want to know just how much Teammate actually gets to claim from this then. Right now it's a couple minion waves dying. Here's the next attempt. Easy could ult this to save the turret a little bit better, but he's forced to back up. There's the ulti. Now will they tank this? Yep, 2 more minions show up. This is going to be the turret claimed very securely by Teammate, using that 4v3 on the map to claim a turret.
Now the question is, do they back? Because they have 20 seconds on Dragon. If they back now, they forfeit it.
Nope, they're going to be forced to stay. They've got one more wave to clear in mid. You're seeing Slushie walk up for that one. GGJJ, similar idea here for the bottom lane, but the sweepers are out. The ward's going to be coming down. Tri-Brush going to be looked at, and
and they're going for GGJJ.
And the flash, the net, but it's still going to be right on top of Slushie's ultimate. Black Shield comes in. Will it be enough? No, it will not. Slushie picks up another kill, and that is now a very secure Dragon.
And the Dragon's going to go over to Teammate. Almost definitely, Wild Mimo, he's looking for something else at the same time. He might just get a blue as a little bit of a consolation prize.
Well, Acadian's looking for a consolation prize of his own, going to the top lane to push this turret down. Teleport is up for Calitrolls, but he's actually forced
he goes
to
top.
teleport. Yeah, and will he get much? He's got the turret low. Acadian could have stayed to kill this. And instead, he's actually now stuck on the wrong side of the map.
Cali chases this. He might go straight into Wild Mimo.
This is going to be interesting. Yeah, Elise is lurking around. There's no wards on the northern side at all. Minion Wave's not going to be pushing in to drop turret aggro, though, so Acadian's going to have to take some damage for this one, but it doesn't even matter. The knockback doesn't mean much and just gets bursted through. Well done, Zenith.
Yeah, it's a good map rotation there by Wild Mimo to pick up the blue instead of going and trying to contest the Dragon, and ends up where the TP was and no ward coverage.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful play by Zenith to get that one back. They are definitely fighting tooth and nail. The problem is they just keep falling farther behind because of objective control. 5,000 gold lead for Team 8. Even though they're getting answered back on, these guys are still making the better choices.
Yeah, they're making a lot better choices across the board in the early game. They played the lane swap a little better. Granted, Zenith Esports are doing pretty damn well.
Yeah, they are.
Considering their position and how much people kind of voted against them. On the website, too. It was 89% for Team 8. Team 89%.
Yep.
Versus Zenith, people bought kind of 11%. It's a best of 3, first game in, you're feeling your opponents out. 4K up at 15 minutes. We've seen much larger gold leads in these types of matchups that people thought were one-sided.
Sure, but right now it's still a lead you gotta really consider here. Team 8 doing the best they can. 2-0-1 on the Twisted Fate that did come through. Maple Street as well, 1-0-2 in the Corki. They tried to ban away his Lucian. They picked away his Caitlyn. Looks like the Corki's doing just fine, to be completely honest.
There's these jungle builds across the board. Wild Mimo going with the Spirit of the Spectral Wraith on Elise. Porpoise Pops going with Hexdrinker second item.
I'm surprised by Hexdrinker second, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I understand a lot of it in that he's not actually buying more health. So if he gets Trundle ulted, it actually doesn't affect him nearly as high. So that's kind of cool. And he is facing multiple magic damage dealers in the Ziggs, Morgana, and the Magic Pen Elise. So I do understand the choice of resistances. But it's a weird mix of like adding damage in midway through.
He's using the ward from the Golem very effectively, and Slushy using his ultimate effectively as well.
Canadian puts a pillar down, but doesn't block
Cali.
anything to jump over the wall. There's the Ziggs ulti. The knockback into a Canadian is beautiful, and the burst comes through. Slushy 8 now on a killing spree. Forward Pop's got to be careful, though. He's in the middle of 2 enemy champions. Hexbreaker already pops. 1 shot to go, and lives up to his name. Porpoise pops right there, thanks to Ziggs, who gets jumped up in the air as well, but Easy survives it. Now GGJJ, the ulti in towards Cali Trolls, not going to hit him, actually blocked up, and now Mimo forced into the air, chases down, can't get it. Maple Street with a great rocket to chase him down. Now Slushy jumps in with the flash, finds another gold card, the wild cards to follow, and that is another good fight. Teammate coming out just slightly ahead.
Wild cards are easy to follow, but that team fight was not. Maple Street ended up flashing in front of the ultimate, the ace in the hole. It was a really good play there from him, and blowing his heal to try and keep California Trolls alive, and succeeding with it too. They end up getting wave clears, extra damage, and extra kills for themselves, making it a 6.5k gold lead.
And it's just a number that keeps on growing with these guys. If we watch that fight again, though, it was freaking awesome.
So he goes very aggressive, but he doesn't have the backup and gets surrounded with the Flash Cocoon. Gets dropped here, uses his Duskbringer offensively instead of defensively, still gets popped up. Cali comes in. Easy almost dies right here, but then Maple Street, they make the call to defend him. Flashes right in front of that, ends up getting the heal off and saving his teammate there. Blown him up with a rocket.
Yeah, he saved them both times. The flash and the ulti were required, I think, to keep Cali Trolls alive. So great play by Maple in that fight. Triforce, less per second, I disagree with, but Lisa's in-game play is good.
It's
very strange.
The odd bro coming up big. General odd one, but it's Major Maple Street.
It is an odd item build at the very least. That one I know about. Slushy is going to hold the bottom lane, though. Looks like you've got so many available split pushers. Gragas with TP, Twisted Fate in general as a champion, as well as this Corki that Maple Street likes to play, the escapable, high AoE champion. So I do want to see actually who gets the solo farm at this stage of the game and who's part of the main sort of crew.
You're going to want some type of wave clear with it, but of course
they all have
their solo laners can. I'm counting Maple Street as the solo laner at this point.
Yep, it counts. He's been soloing probably more than Slushy has.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not correct because he's down 2 levels.
Pretty close. Well, I mean, Slushy's been ganking, so I guess those are technically
so Slushy's jungling.
Duo lanes when he gets up to the lane. But right now, just looking at the map, Zenith are just so defensive in their wards. They don't have a single ward past the river.
That is always a risk.
They have no idea where the enemy team is unless they're being aggressive on them. So Zenith's playing very defensive and not trying to get preemptive moves, but they're using reactionary moves to try and get advantages, and it hasn't worked.
It hasn't so far, but just maybe you catch someone out in the right spot and suddenly everything falls into place. That's going to be the hope here for Zenith. They need something to get them back into this game. Constantly playing passively and waiting for a better late game is not a real scenario for these guys.
GG.
He's got nowhere to go. This is not happy for the Caitlyn. EQ comes out, but wildcards will miss, so it is a solo kill. But a kill nonetheless for a TF ulti is worth it.
Yeah, and you have to be very defensive against this team. Zenith Esports, with their composition, is all wave clear and just defensive power, and the fact that you have all these globals. You just saw it right there. You get picked off if you overextend. Wards can't help you in that case.
What's weird about Teammate is they don't have to play super like crazy push speed, because if you actually do fight out in a lane like we just saw the Caitlyn there, it allows you to get these TF ultis in, these ganks, if you can actually kind of pull the lanes down and look for these isolated matchups. But with her down, with the ulti down as well, it's time to push in. But the more sort of blank space they create on the map, the more chances there are for Slushy to pick somebody off.
Getting themselves a turret in the bottom lane. It's a duo lane split push. And it's much easier to split push when you're ahead. You just use those people who nobody can really 2v2 or 1v1, and then you just cause pressure that has to be answered with a bit of a lopsided numbers.
All right, now though, Teammate with the lopsided numbers down here. 3v0 on the Dragon, no problem at all. Ah, he missed the cannon.
That's happened a lot this game. I saw California Trolls miss a cannon up top, underneath turret.
You know who doesn't miss cannons? Braum. He's got a relic shield. Actually, he's got a Targon's Brace now. No, now he's got to face the mountain. He just bought. I eventually got there. I was a little bit behind the times.
Boom, all of them.
A little slow. But 200 extra damage in the execute. Pretty easy. So far he's gotten him. Just saying.
Some supports miss it, though.
For Thresh, it's hard.
Yeah, Thresh it is hard.
I am always afraid when I have like a Thresh in solo queue and I'm like, all right, you open Targons. Like, I'll trust you to last at the cannon, but don't screw me here. And usually it works out. My faith is usually well placed in my teammates.
Is that why you are not in Challenger? It's all those Thresh lanes?
Yeah, it's always my support's fault. I have played perfectly every single game. Yeah, never blame me.
I take back all of my previous comments.
Yep, I'm perfect. Cali Trolls is trying to get ward control for himself, though, in this top side. He's going with the Sheen second, so that might be the Iceborne, the Groa Iceborne build that was sort of the first build I think we were seeing with Gragas. I think it's actually definitely one of the best ones here.
The ones we were seeing in Korea, a lot of people in NA, when they were trying to pick up Gragas, didn't go for that build. Some people went Athene's top, and it was like, okay, kind of not the best build. Then when we started seeing the Roa come out, it was like, okay, now he feels good because it gives him every stat he could possibly want.
Yep.
And the fact that a health gives him more damage on his W too.
True. All kinds of painful stuff here. So Gragas is going to be the top lane split pusher. It is
back.
What?
It's percent of their HP.
Yeah, percent of their HP. But it does give you more health on your passive, basically.
Yeah, and health gives him more damage because he's alive longer. Boom.
There you go. Synergy. Found it. The 1-3-1 split push, though, TF does stay in the mid lane so he can reach everybody. Porwis Pops takes a fair bit of damage. The binding comes through. Wildcards hits him from his own team. Doesn't deal damage, but exists.
Got to cheat at the poker hand.
Yep.
See what his teammate was rocking.
A gold card. I haven't seen Slushie miss a card lock, actually, this game.
Oh, he's really good at that.
Yep.
Slushie is actually a fantastic mid laner. Like since we're talking about LP, he's D1 45 LP, but that's definitely not reflective of his skill level.
Yep. He's playing pretty much perfectly this game, and he's been one of the big forces for his team overall. 4-0-2 in this game, holding up in CS versus the Ziggs, which is a pretty good mark for a player. We're seeing Maple Street right now just continue to split push in the bottom lane. He's still powering up. Infinity Edge likely to be his next choice, but I guess you can't guarantee that in either way. 4 sweepers already out for the team as well. Blue buff still under control. Teammate is strangling the map right now. Oh, 10,000 gold up.
He's taking a lesson from Kobe here. Cali Trolls has Lichbane.
All right, cool.
Professor Kobe teaching a class.
He did. He talked about that one. I want to see how that build pans out for him. Plenty of pain available. 212 AP so far, so it's about 200. Actually, no, it got nerfed, right? It used to be 0.75. I don't remember the Lichbane damage numbers anymore.
I don't really play with a Lichbane because
you're a jungler.
Junglers.
AP Evelyn with Lichbane, dog. Don't you know?
Oh my god. Ever since the E changed to physical damage, it's not worth it.
It's okay.
Sad.
I think it's a 0.5 ratio. Now I'm just silly for not knowing anymore. I used to know everything about every item. I'm falling off, man. Quit and retire.
Because all your 80 carries build in the Lichbanes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is 50%. Okay, I was right.
Yeah.
I just wasn't 100% certain anymore.
We don't get the nice little luxury of checking things.
No. We're just watching the screen. We don't get our own computers. They don't like us enough. Bottom lane inhibitor turret going to be attacked down to half HP. We do have wonderful Arthur's voice in our head telling us when things go right. So he told us it was 50%. It's the case. I trust him.
Shoutouts to Arthur.
Or Aaron, or any A name you want to go for here. We change it up every week. Team He's displeased with this conversation topic. Teammate in the mid lane, still pushing on. They do bring Maple back to the mid lane here. They've gotten the bottom lane tier 2 gone. Easy is clearing out as best he can. And really, there's just not a lot of turret damage coming through. Teammate are trying to outposition their opponents, but Zenith aren't making it easy. They're staying tucked inside their base, safe from TF.
25 minutes in, playing extremely safe versus the Twisted Fate, and they don't have a single ward past their tier 1 turrets.
Nope.
It's very dark on that map.
They can at least see the routes back and forth between those outer turrets, the ones that are left over, but that is all they get to see. They have no vision of Baron, they have no vision of when Dragon might have died or respawned. The buffs aren't theirs. Yeah, it's a very difficult place to play from when you just don't have information. Every bush could have a Garen in it.
Even though he's not even on the map.
Yep, it's just how it works. Garen is in every brush at all the time.
Until you check it.
Yep.
Schrodinger's Garen.
Yep. Usually the answer is no, but sometimes they pick him. But you can't even be sure. Cali Trolls,
He's
level
going for the duel
14,
again.
same as Acadian, and that is the exact play he didn't want to make. He goes for the fight, but there is TF. Can he win the 1v2? Actually, I think the answer is yes. Gregor's holding the flash, the gold card. Never mind, the answer is no after all. Very well done, Slushy, saving his teammate, getting the kill for it. Top lane tier 2 died at the same time, despite being a 3v4. Nocturne really comes in, looks pretty easy. The knockup from Dodo, that is a kill picked up. Look at that, teammate. Just flip a switch and everyone dies.
And look at that, the TP coming in. They're going to go ahead with a healed up Cali Trolls, going for the turret.
Zoom, zoom, turret goes down. Distortion boots on the Ninja Tabby just to make sure he can get out there faster. On top of all this, bottom inhibitor going to drop as well. Team 8's got to be a bit careful of Caitlyn. They don't actually stay for the inhibitor. They're respecting the kill pressure.
At the same time, though, they're pushing in that middle tier 2. They're just applying multi-point pressure here. With a
still
huge
no respawns
numbers
yet.
advantage, yeah.
It's just now a 5v4, 10 more seconds on Ziggs. There just is no easy fight for these guys. Cali Trolls forced to run away. Caitlyn would not kill him with the ulti. Slushy ghosts in, gold card lands, wild cards come out, hits a cocoon. This is a dangerous place to be if your TF flashes. Not gonna matter, kill comes through anyway, 10-5 right now. But this has got to be a bit of a risk right there. Hakuho goes in, looks for Porpoise Pops, gets the exhaust down. That's going to be him locked up. The damage coming through flashes the wall, though, to try to stay safe. Porpoise Pops, though, might not get out, and he doesn't. Easy picks up the second kill here. 5v3 on the map. Maple Street forced to flash away as well. A lot of summoners lost now by the team. Cali Trolls, though, wants to keep the pressure on. Look at this one.
It's the sneaky fat man. Nobody ever saw him coming.
Well, they see him now. Gets the inhib. I don't know if he has a way out.
Woo! He's got flash.
He just does repel, does get into range. The nice knockback, but here comes Easy. He actually did satchel charge the wall, and Cali Trolls gets out. Puts a couple of dances in. That was really well done.
He's not even going to run away. He wants more.
He's creating enough pressure that there's really no Baron attempt possible for these guys. The minions would flood in too quickly. So Team 8, they do go overall down in that fight, but it's 2 inhibitors dead. That's all but the game.
Things that Cali Trolls does seem really reckless when you just watch them. You're like, that was super calculated.
Maybe.
We were watching his Lee Sin all the time. He kept going in every time. I remember
To be fair, he had like the most deaths that game of
that's
anyone
true.
on his team.
I was talking with some bronze players, and they were like, man, it's Lee Sin after my own heart. He makes bronze plays with challenger skill levels, so they always work out.
It's pretty great. It just, whenever he presses Q, it just hits it again.
Oh, yeah.
You can't even make the choice. It just automatically reactivates. He bound that. It's a macro. It just hits Q twice whenever he presses it. Corpus Pops? Yeah! Spell Shield. Still gives 30 gold to the Morgana, though.
He just walked all over that tormented soil.
Yep. Didn't seem to care.
Treading his feet, kicking mud.
Yep. I feel like Tormented Soil should make Maokai grow. Just because, you know, soil and trees.
If it's tormented, though, it should, like, strangle him to death.
I mean, he's already tormented, though, with all the dark magics of the world. Doesn't really affect him very much. Teammate, though, uh-oh, Hakuho, there we go. That's going to be a very unhappy Morgana. Okay, he must be unhappy as well. Puts the pillar down, but it's still going to let the team walk in on this one. He's got nowhere to go. Gets the ulti down, puts the heals in. Not going to be enough. Slushy helping the team pick up another kill. Now Wild Mimo on the wrong side of the tracks. Cali Trolls just going to chase him out for now. The rest of the team closes this game out in a 4 versus 2.
Spider lunges forward. Oh, the sliding barrel.
Like the taunt down, drinking up with the W. Killing Spiderlings. Why not?
Get
Wild
more
Mimo
gold
goes human
from it.
form. He knows he's dead.
And they're killing the base right now for teammate. At the same time, he's just chilling with him, making sure nothing happens. GGJJ.
Nearly onto the fountain turret, so got to be careful on this one. Dodo keeping the team safe with the gigantic shield, and there we go. Nexus turret's going down under 30 minutes. The game length overall, 13-6. Aggressive the whole time, and Team 8 gonna bring down game 1.
About 17K gold lead coming out for them at the 30-minute mark with 1 second.
Yep.
A little bit over.
39:01.
Ah.
Still, I gotta say, great game. They played exceptionally well. You called the picks, you know, TF Nocturne gonna play an aggressive style. The first pick, Gragas as well. And it was like, all right, guys, we're just going to wrest control of your map. Zenith a couple of times overstepped. You had GGJJ by himself at the blue buff one time. You had Trundle looking for the 1v1 against Gragas, knowing full well TF could show up at any point. And those kills just slowly but surely did come through. Teammates started to control the game.
Yeah, Team 8, they aren't taking any risks this series. They're a team that's fallen into too many patterns, and I talked about it last time we saw them. Their biggest weakness has been champion select in the past. I've seen California Trolls pick a Diana in the top lane before and then immediately lose that game because of it. Then he's like, why did I even do that? So then he starts going with something he's more confident on. They don't risk their team comp. And that's a big change coming into Summer Series 2 now, is that they're just going to play what they are best at and what they can get. They aren't going to mess around. They're going to go full in on this. And it showed right there with their team comp. They were taking no mercy.
Yeah, it's like the old Cloud9 style when they were like the undisputed #1 in North America was like, look, we've got these like 3 comps that work every single time. Until you guys figure out how to beat it, we'll just run it on repeat. If the champion's there, we'll pick it. No other second thoughts about it. Just like, okay, we're gonna do our research for bans, but just this every single game.
Ash Syra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was good. And right here, it's hey, TF Nocturne. They play the map so well. That stranglehold is hard to play around, as you saw right there. I mean, Zenith have some really smart players.
Yes.
Some great individually skilled players. A lot of good talent on that team. Problem is, they didn't play perfect the entire game. It's hard to. Teammate capitalized.
Yeah, Easy went 2-1-0 on Ziggs. He wasn't feeding. He wasn't giving anything up.
Nope.
They were warding the mid lane as much as they could. It's just those split seconds where Slushy roams or a gank happens, and then they end up on top, or the team fight blows up and teammate comes out on top. It's really hard to get back from that. 292 CS on Easy, highest in the game.
Yeah.
He did really well for himself as a farming mid laner and in terms of stats. But in terms of map presence, it just wasn't all there.
Yeah, he wasn't able to really leave his lane. I never saw him like roam around and make these kinds of plays. And that is something that, to be honest, on paper, that's the one matchup those guys, I feel like they should win and need to win, is unlock that mid laner to go make plays. I do want to see even more from Easy and see him get something to happen because I felt like everything else just went very obviously Team 8's way. So I think that's one place he needs to outplay. We'll see if they can do it in Game 2. Our team is pinging us to go back for a commercial break, but when we return, it's time for Game 2 between Zenith Esports and Team 8, so don't go anywhere.